I can cry like on command.
For real?
Yeah.
Shit.
Am I allowed to curse on this?
No, of course.
Alright, so
Yeah, but look at the sides. This is the part that bothers me.
The back always
The
bothers
back,
me.
yeah.
Because it's always really annoying to
Yeah.
trim it yourself.
I try to cry on like a regular basis because just got too much in my head.
I don't really keep any of my emotions to myself. I let it out. I try my best to be a strong person, but I feel everyone should as well. If I have to cry at times, I'll cry, but I feel that's just a human trait. It's something that we all do, and it shouldn't be something that should be suppressed.
I think I grew up only with my mom and my two sisters, and didn't have a male like figure in my life. I don't think I had a problem expressing my emotions, but I do think that I was never really upset. I was never really sad. My mom worked really hard for us to like get everything she needed for us to be happy. So like technically we were really poor, but I never knew I was poor until like later, until like my mom, you start learning about finances and but like growing up, I had everything that everyone else had. She doesn't undermine crying or emotions, but she taught us to be very resilient, my sisters and I. So we were always just really like strong kids.
I was raised by a single parent, but only by my mother. My mother never really told me not to cry, but I wouldn't say she was emotionally there for me. She was always working. Again, she was a single parent. So me and her, we don't even have a close relationship. So I had to become like an adult, a 10, 11-year-old. I had to just find my own way. She was pregnant with me at 18 or 17, I believe. So she wasn't ready for a family.
But like, as a kid, I've always been like pretty sensitive. But like, I guess as a guy, like, you've heard it like. You're not supposed to cry.
Yeah.
So like that would always be something that I would have to do in private.
Growing up as a kid, I kind of was a pussy. Like I cried about everything. You could say like I was like a little bitch, but as I grew up and I started learning from stuff, I just started toughening up, and I feel that's what helped me become the person that I am today. Like I'm not. Like I've been through so much like nonsense growing up. Typical middle school, elementary school stuff, But then again, since I didn't have someone to go home to and talk about with things, I just felt it was like a little worse. In the end, it still helped me grow and become stronger, and now I'm the person that I am today.
A lot of days you hold it in, and then my problem with it is that I wouldn't even be able to like let it out or think about like that realm, like the emotional realm of my life, like until I'm like in bed, and then I just like couldn't stop myself.
It wasn't until I was 14 and my sister and I, the middle sister, Carla, were in a car accident. She was 16, I was 14, sorry. And we hit a wall, and I broke both my legs and my hip and my arm. But Carla passed away. And that was like the first, I guess, really emotional trauma I suffered.
I honestly don't feel anyone should do that, learning to not be emotional, unless you're like going to like become like some sort of like CIA member or something like that, where you gotta go overseas, you get captured, you can't show emotion, blah blah blah. But for the average person, I don't feel we should be doing that, because again, it is a human trait. We have to display emotion. That's how we communicate and let others know non-verbally about how we're feeling at the moment. If you need to cry, you do that. If you're mad, you show that. That's just something you can't suppress, because it's just gonna come back and bite you in the ass. It's not gonna be a good feeling.
So I had anxiety growing up. If I didn't see my sister, if I didn't like know where she was, I would start to like fidget, and like I don't know, it's like some people do it where they'll start like kind of hurting themselves, like because you're just so anxious. Sort of like having panic attacks if I didn't know where she was, and it was simple as like if she wouldn't answer the phone. My anxiety was really attached to like losing my sisters and my mom.
But yeah, you gotta let it out sometimes. I developed like insomnia that way, just by like, I guess, I don't know. But I don't know, working through that. I think, yeah, guys definitely have to like cry more often, because we're not good at letting it out verbally.
Last time I did cry, I'd say was November 2017, the first. I remember, the reason I remember it is because it's my longest relationship and my ex. We lasted throughout like the last year of high school and then first year of college. Since I've always been to myself, I've never really dated too many people. When, life happens, we don't hate each other or anything. We talk. I cried, I bawled my eyes out, whatever, but I saw it as something that just happens. Like, breakups happen. People don't last forever. She's not a bad person, and I still love her and respect her. That situation did break me a little bit, and I was sad for about like a week or two, but of course I bounced back, and I just realized, like, it's life. Like, I just gotta do what I gotta do.
Once Carla passed, it was hard because I would argue that I was the closest person to her, but there was like this sort of like weight lifted off because I like never ever again have felt that anxious in my life again. So I guess like confronting my biggest fear of like losing the person I loved the most at the time, like, came true, and then everything after that has been like nothing. Like, nothing can compare to losing my sister.
I've even like done it on the subway before, just like a low key, a couple tears here and there, just to. You feel better whenever you cry.
My emotions for a long time were sort of like kept to myself. I didn't want to upset my mom, so like if she saw me cry or if she saw me upset, she would automatically like cry and be hysterical. I never cried a lot when I was younger, so then I wasn't used to that. That was sort of like this hardening that happened when I was around 14.
I don't know. I don't really think about anything when I have to cry. It's like you just kind of put on a little soundtrack in your head.
What do you listen to?
I don't know. I guess it sounds like. I don't know. Just like waves of like fucking sound. I don't know. It's hard to like express like, I don't know, whatever you see or hear in your head.
When I went back to school, I went to the same high school as she was supposed to be a junior. First day of class, and then the first person, I went to this, I think it was culinary arts class. Our last name is not very like common, Mejicanos. So then just by reading the roster, like, they knew that I was her brother, and they knew that I was in the accident. And like, kids, when you're a freshman, sophomore, they don't care. I mean, not that they don't care, but they just aren't sensitive, so they asked. And I remember the first time they asked me, I broke down because I didn't know how to react. I was so embarrassed, and then like, and whenever anyone asked me something about it, like, my face would just turn super red. That was just happening throughout my whole like freshman year.
When I've cried or whatever, no one's really been around. I've just been by myself usually. And then, because usually when I'm around people, I don't like, even if I'm in the worst mood, I want to be as optimistic as possible. I don't want to bring negative energy around people. So if I'm going through stuff, I tell my friends about it. Yeah, before we hang out, whatever, I'm going to say, yo, blah, 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 this happened, I'm not in the best mood, whatever. So what do my friends do? Or the people I'm around, they try to uplift me. We don't even talk about the situation. We just try and live life like normally.
And it took a toll on me because I was failing classes, which is very unlike me. I failed 2 classes.
Let me try to get a cry out, and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, do it, man.
My mouth is so much dry though. You have water?
Do you want water?
Yeah.
I'll figure something out.
I wanted to continue as nothing happened. I couldn't like run away from it because I was in school where there was posters of my sister everywhere. I still like acted as if like I was okay.
Do you want me to leave the room?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see.
we
Just
do
like.
it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sound it outside. And you
Yeah,
can do
you
your thing.
sound
You can't sit there and stress about some stuff because you have to realize that there's always someone going through a situation that's worse than yours. And that's just how I feel about like when it comes to crying and everything. Like, yeah, I'm gonna let it down, whatever, but I'm not gonna let it take control of me.
If you would ask me like 5 years ago, talk about it, I would cry immediately. But like now, because I had to talk about it so much, it's sort of like desensitized. Now I get emotional just like trying to remember her. I'm older than her, but I can never be in my head older than her because she was always my older sister. But I can't imagine her as someone who's 24. I can only think of what she would be doing. And that's probably the hardest part, because the more years pass, the harder it is to remember